guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. So this reading vlog is all about kind of getting my life together, having a nice cozy week at home, at least that's the plan. But in this vlog, I also want to tackle a book that's been on my fantasy TBR for going on 2 years now. Yes, a very anticipated fantasy sequel that I meant to get to right away when it came out, but alas, I've waited 2 years and now the third and final book is just about to come out. In some ways, perhaps my procrastination worked out in my favor. But without further ado, let's go ahead and chat about the books I hope to read for this vlog. So the main read I would say is that I want to read The Bone Shard Emperor from beginning to end. This of course is the sequel to The Bone Shard Daughter, which I read 2 years ago and really enjoyed. This is the second book. I've heard great things about it, that it really expands the world. So I'm looking forward to jumping back into this fantasy series. Alongside that, I also started the audiobook of Gideon the Ninth in the last vlog. This is a reread for me. It's a lot of fun. I still have a lot of work to do on my puzzle, which I hope to accomplish this week. So hopefully a lot will be read of this book as well. But lots of fantasy, lots of top of my TBR reads, if I'm being honest. So I'm hoping for success. I'm hoping for some 5-star moments, but there's only one way to find out. It is currently Tuesday afternoon, right before lunch. Oh my gosh, Matilda looks like a hot dog right now. But I'm about to make lunch, which I will vlog, and we're making a tasty salad today, which I'm looking forward to. But then I gotta work, but then I plan to do so much reading. I truly cannot wait. Here's proof that Matilda looks like a little hot dog. Look at her. I should move her bed. Hold on, let's move her bed. We shuffle her bed around the house so it goes into all the sunspots, which is her preference. See, she already knows. She's getting in. Choo-choo, scooting you along, Millie. Okay, get comfortable. I'll keep pushing you. Okay, perfect. See, that's what she wanted. Now she can enjoy the sun. Let's make lunch together, shall we? Alrighty, here is the salad, all bunch of toppings. I also made some like teriyaki chicken and a sesame dressing to go on top. So I'm just gonna combine and mix. And here, hello friends, I've officially wrapped up work and I'm gonna sit down and start the Bone Shard Emperor, which is again like my main priority for this vlog. And if you're not familiar, the first book to this series is called The Bone Shard Daughter. It is a multi-POV fantasy world, and I would say book one was very character focused, like establishing the characters, their motivations, introducing us a bit to the world, particularly introducing us to the magic system. But what I've heard about the sequel is that it's much more involving world building and the kingdom really gets like cracked open, which I'm really anticipating. But in this series, we kind of primarily follow two main characters. The first is Lynn, and she is the Bone Shard Daughter. So in this fantasy world, it's basically an empire comprised of lots of different land masses. And at the heart of it, there's one emperor who rules with an iron fist. And he's able to do this by utilizing his magical ability, which is like bone shard magic, which allows him to basically bring to life various constructs, write scripts, have them, you know, fight in his armies, have them be his closest advisors, have them be spies, have them do various jobs. So basically through these constructs, which he gets the ability to create these constructs through bone shards harvested from the people who live in the empire itself. He's basically been able to rule this empire with an iron fist. He's also a recluse, so no one really sees him. He doesn't really engage politically with the other governors that exist in this land. It's all very tumultuous. Lots of people are unhappy, obviously. There are movements against him, the whole thing. Lynn is his daughter, and she's been raised basically in isolation, and she's one of the main characters we follow. And in book one, a lot of her character is about learning the secrets of her father, the secrets of his magic, understanding what is going on, trying to expose herself as much as possible to the kingdom and the politics, and also try to unlock her past and like her family's past. So a lot of self-discovery happens, and you really like Lynn. I like her quite a bit. I would say she's like very reserved, very intense. And I also think though that she's like innately like very good, and kind of seeing her have to navigate some very difficult situations is a great sort of setup. The other main character we follow is a character named Jovis, and he is a smuggler, and he basically works with a variety of people. First off, he works with, you know, some black market individuals because he's stealing and selling stuff on the side, but he also works rather closely with the rebellion. He himself has a complicated past as he's a widower. So obviously he's deeply mourning the passing of his wife, and he's actually dedicated a large chunk of his life and why he actually became a smuggler and trying to figure out like what happened to her. And then there's other side characters that are kind of involved politically and like different islands. And again, the first one was good. I enjoyed the characters, and the writing I found to be very engaging. I wanted more from the overall like plot and world building point of view. So I'm hoping that's what we get going into this next installment. So anyway, that was a little intro, if you will. So I'm gonna sit down and read now. I'm curious about this. I feel like due to the events of the last one, some characters were sort of brought in together. So I like that. I felt, again, like the first one was like establishing the characters separately. So then when they kind of enter into some of the same playing field, it can get interesting, and you also feel close to both characters like as individuals before, you know, they become possibly like a group of characters. Anyway, I'm rambling on. So I'm gonna read this. The magic in this is super cool. So I'm excited to see how it's going to develop into book 2. So I'm gonna read now. Okay, goodbye. It's me. I am in bed ready to read more of the Bone Shard Emperor. I read about 70 pages earlier tonight, and so far so good. I feel like the author's doing a really great job making the book interesting, like from the jump, giving us enough information to provide recollection, because it's been a minute since I've read the first book, but I feel like the author again is like not bogging us down with like a full recap, let's call it, but doing a good job calling back to the first plot where I can be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I already can tell that this is going to be more world building and plot just based on kind of some of the structures and the political scenarios that we are in at the beginning of this book, which I'm liking. And yeah, just more character interactions, which I already referred to, which I'm enjoying. But I'm going to read more. 70 pages isn't much to build a full opinion on, so we're getting there. We're getting there. So I'm going to read. Good morning, everyone. Excited to take on today. You know what I mean? Hello, friends. Good late afternoon. I have not checked in very much at all today, but for kind of good reason. 1, I was working. 2, we had an electrician come to do some work on the house, which also means Clay's and I's like little bathroom decorating moment. I'm gonna set you on this candle. I'm gonna see if this works. Our little bathroom DIY moment is done. So I'm gonna give you guys a tour of our guest bathroom that we sort of just painted. It's by no means like a renovation, and we still plan to do a renovation, but we basically wanted to update it with a smaller budget to make it kind of match the vibe of our house more, which is so fun. I ended up reading a lot of the Bone Shard Emperor last night. I stayed up way too late, which is why I'm so sleepy today. So I'm going to do a reading update and actually sit down and read more. I wouldn't say this book is like my favorite book I've ever read, but I will say though, it reads quickly. Like I feel like I'm just flying through it, which just in general as a reading experience is nice. But let's do a bathroom tour, then we'll do a reading update, and then I'm gonna get some coffee, an afternoon coffee. I know, I'm trying not to have those, and read. Oh, here's Matilda in the sun being very cute. So ignore how messy this room is. Here is the bathroom. So cute. So I'll have some footage I'll overlay right now. Before it was, we basically just painted it white right when we moved in, but we wanted to add a little more personality. So first thing we did was we did these peel and stick vinyl tiles throughout the bathroom. So we didn't replace the tile or anything. These are literally just like stickers. So far they're holding up pretty well. They've been on here for about a month. We also painted the chair rail like this light pink color, which we really like. We added some shelving for extra storage as this bathroom is really small. So we have this shelf here and also this little shelf above the toilet. We replaced all of these little guys. We have a new towel bar, a new towel, a little hook, a towel ring as well. And then to flip you around, this is what the bathroom looks like this. We already had this shower curtain, which is like this like yellow gingham shower curtain, and this bath mat, which is from Anthropology, but I think it goes nicely in here. And then the last thing is this little print, which I got at a antique store in Pennsylvania when I was visiting my mom, and I think it looks really cute in here. So this is the newly DIY'd bathroom. Hi, so I have my cup of coffee here, but let's talk about the Bone Shard Emperor, because I, as I said, read a lot. I actually read to page 200 yesterday or last night, and I did read like a little bit this morning before the electrician got here, and I'm liking this book. So take a step back. As I said, this is a multi-POV fantasy story set in this world comprised of islands. The magic system has to do with these constructs powered by bone shard magic. I'd say our two main characters are Jovis and Lynn. There are two other like important side character POVs that we follow, Romani and Feilu, who are together, and they actually have a really, really cute relationship. Interesting about book 2 is that outside of, I feel like, learning more about the world, which it's happening through a variety of ways. First, the author is using this device with our character Jovis. He basically finds this old notebook which has information about not only the origin of the kingdom that he lives in, but also like this ancient evil group of people that tried to destroy them in the past, and the looming threat that they could come again is in some ways why the empire stays an empire. Like the discussion of we need to stay unified so we can be strong against this evil force if they return is used quite often. So this journal is providing us like kind of interesting background on this conflict, like what happened, their powers, the political sort of stuff that has to do with that, which I'm liking in terms of a world building device. Also though, we're moving around a lot more. I'd say in the last book, outside of Jovis, who was a smuggler, so who's moving a lot of our characters were pretty stationary, but now we're seeing Lynn especially kind of move to a few different places, which is interesting to see her, one, have to handle different political scenarios, but also just kind of cracks open the fantasy world a bit too, which I'm liking. Outside of the world being developed further, being so silly right now, I'm also just kind of liking some of the scenarios our characters are put in. There's lots of like dissonance that the author is creating within everyone, where like they initially felt they had a clear point of view who they are and like what they want to accomplish and how they're going to go about doing it, but basically as they learn more, as the situation around them becomes murkier, both morally and politically, they themselves also are like kind of unsure how to navigate what in the world is going on. And this dissonance creates a lot of like addictive reading, if you ask me. And I think she especially does this with our main character Jovis in his, I guess, association with Lynn and how their characters are currently interacting with each other in book 2, which I'm enjoying. But it's not just them, it's like a lot of other characters, and there's a lot of characters in this book that are anti-empire, but they're also trying to grapple with, well, just because we feel like the structure is evil doesn't mean that everyone involved is evil, in the same way that like the rebellion, which in theory is fighting for good stuff, might not be going about it in the most moral of ways. So there's just lots of dynamic dissonance, we're gonna call it, which is creating an addicting reading scenario. I'm starting to also see kind of the beginnings of the threads that I feel like is going to make up the larger conflict. This is book 2 and the final book comes out in April. So I've imagined that a lot of this book is going to be setting the board, which I don't mind if it continues to at least be really interesting in how the characters are going to interact. But nevertheless, I'm going to sit down and read more now. The first 200 pages were very promising. I just, for some reason, I like this book, but there's something about it that's not making me like obsessed with it, or I think it's more that it's just not blowing my mind, but there's still plenty of time for that to happen. Like, it's a solid read. I just wouldn't say it's like 5 out of 5 stars, shout out from the rooftop. Right now it's like a solid 4-star read for me, which is not a bad read at all. I think some of this is just coming from me wanting to be obsessed with it, but who can say? Who can say? But I am gonna read more right now, so goodbye. Hello friends, I'm showered. It's much later in the evening because Clay had a window and we're in the midst of refinishing our deck. We did a coat over the weekend and we needed to do one more coat and we had a window of time to be able to do it. So I dropped everything and helped Clay stain a deck. I have a respirator on. We have these rags in special boxes so they don't spontaneously combust. But now it's much later. We ordered ramen. Delish. There's Matilda. She doesn't get ramen. And I will read later, but I'm sorry for like the derailment. Lots of home projects going on right now. Decks, bathrooms, the whole 9 yards.
Morning, everyone. Oh, actually, let me show you our deck from our hard work last night. Look at her. You can kind of see in the distance, that is a deck we still need to do. So that brown color is not a stain, it's dirt. So Clay like power washed and sanded and stripped all of the decks. We replaced some boards and I helped him stain it the second coat last night. And I think it's looking pretty good. It looks a lot, newer, and it's important. So like, it maintains its integrity, if you will. This is like such dad core vibes, but I just wanted to let you know. This is why I didn't give you a reading update last night, because we were staining our decks. It's really nice right now in Texas, so I can't wait to like eat out here, all different types of things. So anyway, I'm excited about this. But Matilda isn't allowed in the backyard currently, at least not until everything is dry. And she is like, why are we going out front when I just normally go through my sliding door? But she'll make it through. But anyway, it's time for coffee. I've made this Caesar chicken bacon pesto wrap. I'm so bad at wrapping things so it does not stay together unless I'm physically holding it in my hands, but it does provide a better view for you to see what's inside. Also, I got dressed today, so I thought I would show it off. I love this sweater vest. I bought it last year. It reminds me of Valentine's Day. It's actually a beautiful day outside. It's like low 70s, high 60s, and I think after Clay and I finish work, we're gonna enjoy some time in the backyard. But now I gotta get back to it. I owe y'all a reading update too. I owe y'all a lot of things, so just hang tight. Hi, let's do a reading update before I sit down and read more of this book. I also want to start my puzzle. I haven't listened to any of my audiobook for this vlog or just this week, and I have no idea where the week has gone. It just all has slipped away. But anyway, I'm on page 317 and I'm going to read more now. My goal is to get to page 400 before I pivot over to my puzzle. And the pacing of this book is still really fast. It's engaging. I think my qualms are the same, where I'm liking it, I'm just not necessarily getting blown away by it. I really enjoy Lynn as our main character. She is just so likable. She is someone who has grown up in such a lonely existence and is also thrust in a very difficult situation, and she is truly trying her best despite the fact that like nobody wants to like her, nobody wants to trust her, nobody wants to give her the benefit of the doubt. And you can almost empathize why they wouldn't, given the structure of the political system, but it's not necessarily Lynn's fault. And you also see her like not really have very many people in her life that she can like rely on or trust fully. And you see her though also in situations like, because she wants to trust so bad, like is sometimes way too trusting with a few people. Like she's very quick to trust, even though she's also incredibly suspicious. Like she has like this front she puts up and you can tell so desperately that she wants to not have it, So I think as a main character, she's just very, very likable. There is the same type of political issues from the first one, but there is also a new issue that was introduced in this book, which has to do with some, let's just say like internal strife / war conflict situations. And I think the concept of it is really fascinating. Throughout this entire series, constructs have been really at the heart of it, both in the magic system, but also there's this running dialogue of what does it even mean to be human? If you are thinking and living and breathing, even though you are kind of created from parts, do you still have autonomy? Are you still a person? Should you be treated as such? Like, what is the line between human and construct, basically? And that's part of this book too, and I like that concept as well. Still a solid read, not my favorite read, but I am having a good time. So I'm gonna get to page 400 because that will get me on track to be able to finish tomorrow, and then I am gonna listen to some Gideon the Ninth. It's gonna happen. Great news, I read to page 400 of this, and I have plans to be able to definitely finish it by tomorrow. Then Clay and I had a wild hair and we went and got some treats from 85 Degrees. We have this little bun. I have a brioche loaf, which I'm gonna have with my coffee in the morning. I also got this milk bun, which looks really good. So that's fun. And for dinner, I am going to make this coconut shrimp with crushed chickpeas and basil from Molly Bass's cookbook, which I am so excited about. So we're gonna get started, I'm gonna get the rice on, and we're gonna get cooking.
It's good.
My shrimp is done. Shrimp. My shrimp chickpea curry, and then you have it served with rice, and then you top it with these like toasted coconut flakes. Delicious, can't wait to eat. Clay and I are in our Kirby era. Plays a little sour though because there's only one main character in this game. And he has to, but it is co-op. Here we go. It's so cute.
I'm happy to be the second player.
Time, where's my bookmark? To read. Making very solid progress here. I have nothing really new to say outside of the fact that I just wish I was loving this and I still am not. So I'm gonna read it more. I'm gonna read more of it though.
Bird's eye view. Hold on. Because we have to talk about the Bone Shard Emperor. Because unfortunately, guys, I just feel like I'm not loving this book. I feel like I've given it so much time, I feel like, to like bring me to the place I want it to in terms of like loving it, and I'm just not loving it. This book is not bad. I really want to say this book is not bad at all. I'm just not obsessed with it, and I just keep like reading and reading it, and I just feel like it's okay. I have 75 pages left, and I'm just feeling still the exact same in terms of my vibe towards it since the beginning, and now that I'm almost done and my mind has not been changed. So let's be more specific on my issues. So on the surface, I like the characters, I like the concept, I like the setup. I particularly think the magic system is the most interesting aspect of this book. And I'm reading it quickly because I enjoy reading from these characters' point of view. It reads fast. At the same time though, I don't feel like things are like fully developed and the world feels fully realized. And I feel like it especially feels more glaring in the second installment because there's like 3 major plot threads that could all be the main plot thread and be pursued within this book. And I feel like because we're dividing our attention to like different things that could be an issue, instead of it feeling like overwhelming and like, wow, there's so many places our characters have to look, everything just feels sort of underdeveloped and therefore like not as pressing as it should. Like there's a storyline with rebels that was very central in book 1, and I feel like that is taking a very backseat in book 2. There's been some references, there's been some levels of it being important, but like it just feels like very much put on the back burner, and it could like swoop in and become more relevant. There's like storylines with smugglers, which again was more important in book 1, put on the back burner for book 2, but kind of just pulled in conveniently to become relevant to the plot line, you know what I mean? We have a rebellion that's happening within the constructs, which is definitely the most interesting conflict plot line. But I feel like, again, in book 1, it was sort of introduced to us, and it just doesn't feel like there's been enough to make it as intense as it really could be, because it's such a great concept. And then lastly, we have like the history and the mystery of the islands themselves and the connection to this like ancient group of people who have magic, and it all might be like coming back, and they're like kind of this boogeyman danger that everyone has been fearful of for many generations. Like there's all of these things going on, and even if they all end up being connected, it doesn't feel like any of them were given enough time for me to feel the weight and the intensity of all of them. And I just feel like we kind of just like, oh, now we're talking about this chapter, now we're gonna talk about this, and nothing. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling because it's like I want it to be so good. Like I want to like this book so much more than I am, and I just feel like it just needed more development in it. And sometimes I also feel like there's characters which I all really like, and I think Lynn and Jovis are really the only ones given like a fully fleshed out feeling to their characters. Everyone else are interesting, but I wouldn't say I feel like deeply connected to them. And we still jump around to like their kingdoms, their politics, their issues, and I like them, but they just don't feel like fully realized within the story. I'm really rambling here. Basically, like, concepts are strong, execution just wasn't totally there for me. I still need to finish it, and I do plan to finish it. I just feel like maybe there's like too much trying to be packed in that are all very complex, and like all the ideas are really strong, but I think there either should have been less of them to dedicate like more time to making them feel like really integral to the plot and really fleshed out, or we should have gotten a way longer series. Like, I have no issue adding pages to this. I just feel like, I don't know, pacing, some things feel convenient. You know what I mean? And I just feel like the longer I'm sitting with this book, like, I'm getting frustrated at it only because I want it to be better. Like, this book is not bad. I probably right now it's sitting at like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but like, I want it to be a 5-star read so desperately. I think that's why I feel so passionate, you know? Anyway, bird's eye view review update over. I'm gonna finish this book. I am gonna puzzle today, and I'm gonna listen to Gideon the Ninth, especially because I just feel like I want to move into something that I'm just enjoying more. In general, I'm just so sad. I want to love this. I waited so long to read this, and it just, boo. Will I read book 3? Probably, but dang. In other news, I did get dressed today. I'm wearing the same jeans as yesterday, but 2 for 2. I'm putting on real clothes, even when I don't have to film a video. We love to see it. Sometimes life calls for ordering yourself a Philly cheesesteak for lunch. Alrighty, I have a moment. So despite the fact that I just had that long ramble about how I'm disappointed with this book, I am gonna sit down right there and finish it, because I only have 70 pages left. And when I do finish it, I'll have read like 550 pages, and we're gonna listen to Gideon the Ninth, and it'll be a good time. So cheers, let's get to it. Finished. Truth be told, the end was interesting, but I think my overall thoughts are the same. I just feel generally underwhelmed by the series. Fantastic potential, just like not as into it as I wish I would be, you know? With that being said, I'm gonna sit down and work on this puzzle. I've been this far on this puzzle for like 2 weeks. And normally I'm very quick with puzzles, but I've just been very off my game. But we're gonna fix all of that and get to work right now. I made cookies for myself to eat whilst doing my puzzle and listening to my audiobook. Hello. Let's do a bit of well, first, a puzzle update. I did this section, and this section. And I also listened to about 5 chapters of Gideon the Ninth. I'm on chapter 14. And I'm starting to get to the meat and potatoes of this book. And again, this is a reread for me, so Gideon the Ninth. Obviously, I know what is going to happen in this book, but I'm just really taken by the audiobook. The style of everything just works. It's really well suited to an audio experience. Again, if you're not familiar with Gideon the Ninth, I know I've talked about it a lot recently. It is the first book to like a sci-fi necromancer-based tale. We follow our main character Gideon, who's very, very quippy. She basically makes a deal with her arch nemesis to like travel with her to this very strange political meeting for their house. And if she does, she basically gets her freedom from the 9th house, which she is trying to achieve her entire life. I'm finally reaching the book where things are starting to get a little complicated. The setting of this book is primarily on this like desolate house on this planet. It's like ruins, there's clearly a murky past, and they're bringing a cavalier and a necromancer from 9 houses here for a purpose that is like very, very unclear. Everyone kind of has a different style of necromancy. All the planets are different. Some people are really pompous. Some people are a little more reserved. 9th house specifically has a very specific reputation.
And it all is very, very interesting. So initially it's just fascinating to see how everyone is going to interact. Everyone's like sizing each other up. But what is so good about this book is the mystery of the house. It almost has like this closed door element to it. Like it feels almost like a mystery thriller, but there's also a lot of other things going on, like in terms of the actual magic of it all. It's very, very strange. And all of this is also paired with like such hilarious point of view with Gideon being our main character. Like how she's interacting with everyone is just really, really funny. And I find myself just like laughing out loud in some of the most strange scenarios that are not supposed to be funny at all. And where I'm at in the book, things are really starting to get spicy. And I'm really enjoying it. I would say the only hard thing about the audiobook is that there are a lot of characters and there are a lot of like very strange names from all of these different houses. Honestly though, I don't think this is necessarily an audiobook issue. I think this is just a part of the book that can get a little confusing, because I do recall having to like reference the character name list a lot while reading it. So I do kind of have the book nearby to reference, and I'm like, if I ever feel confused about who is affiliated with who and what house they come from. Okay. Oh, Clay's here. Which is handy to have. But at this point, I'm on page like 160 of the book. I think I listened to a good 60 pages tonight, which I am just having a blast. I have a feeling I'm gonna like fall down a Gideon rabbit hole. Like I'm just gonna be listening to a lot of this series, which I think will be a lot of fun. I feel like too, because I was kind of disappointed with my last read and some of my books didn't land as hard as I wanted them to this month. I just in general feel like I've read a lot less than I wanted to. But I feel like I'm also getting back on track, and that's okay, you know? So we puzzled, we audiobooked. Now it's time to enjoy our Friday evening. I think we're gonna order some pizza, and I'm reaching the conclusion of this vlog. I've read over 600 pages. It's weird. I feel like I like failed like in my normal sense of reading this week, but I actually read a good amount. I think I just was kind of like displeased with how I was feeling while I was reading, which, you know, happens to the best of us. But anyway, toodles.
Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the end of the vlog. I just wanted to pop in and wrap up everything I was able to read over the course of this vlog. The good news is I did read over 500 pages, which makes me feel like I had a very productive reading week. The bad news is I didn't necessarily love everything I read. So as I said in my sort of rambly clip about this book, I just didn't love it. I love the idea of it. I want to love it. Like, I like the characters. Elements of this fantasy world just don't feel complete to me or fleshed out or like fully explored. Aspects of it are entertaining. I think the ideas are there, just the execution just left me wanting a bit. I also listened to about 75, maybe more pages of Gideon the Ninth whilst puzzling. I am really enjoying this read. I'm excited to finish it and move on to the next book, which is Gideon the Ninth. Let me know if you think I should listen to the audiobook of that or if I'll get too confused. That is definitely top of mind for me. Alrighty guys, that is everything I was able to read over the course of this vlog. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon with another video soon. Goodbye.